Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Deb Vance. This will be the final little spiel I do about our trip because, man, I can't believe we've been home 3 weeks already. I mean, where does time go? Besides away. Anyway, I wanted to share with you, I've got a whole bunch of maps up, and they're not going to be a scale and perfect, but I want to give you some idea of all of the stuff we did with our trip. So, in Paris, which is on this map over here, but it throws everything out of kilter. But from Paris, we went north first. We went up here by Villerville. And we stayed in this little tiny town just to the west of the mouth of the Seine River. And we were there for, I think, 4 nights. Now, we went into Honfleur, where I took some of the pictures that you already saw. We went over to Deauville, where I did the sketch for this painting. And Deauville also is a location that is near and dear to my husband's heart for all of the horse racing and the significant track that is there in France in Deauville. So we took some pictures there. You may have seen Dean outside of the horse track and you're going, what's that about? Anyhow, here's the Eiffel Tower painting. I don't know if you see this one. Maybe you can stop the video and then zoom in and back out. This is the Pont Neuf Bridge. I did one of the little tiny paintings that you've seen of that bridge from the Batboat tour that we did. Riding around on the Batboat, took pictures, so I painted one. From Paris, we went over here. We took the high-speed train to Avignon, and now we're on this map. So from Avignon, that's here, we stayed in the little town of Ile-sur-Sorgues. About an hour drive. Maybe it was more like 45 minutes. But when you don't know where you're going, everything takes, a little bit longer. And we're driving now for the second time. We picked up the car in Paris and drove here. And I forgot to mention, we went out here through Cannes, and I'm not saying these right, Bayeux, and over here to Omaha Beach and the American cemeteries. And I know you saw those photos on my other posts. So, sorry, I digress. So we went back to Paris. We drove maybe 500 miles up there, I'm guessing. Then we came down here on the high-speed train, Wolf Creek Pass and telephone poles going by, 7 to the X power. That's all I got. It was something else. Because that train is going over 200 miles an hour. So it was something else. We stayed in Ile-sur-Sorgues, and we did day trips, kind of here and there. One day, we went down here to Saint-Remy, where all of our friend Mr. Van Gogh spent time, and he was in this area, and then back. We went all the way out here. Maybe I can flip this map around a little bit. Yep, came down. Went all the way out down here to Mars de Marise. And I don't have my necklace on this morning with the pendant that I got. If you are looking into some of the, I can't say Bible study because the story is not in the Bible. It was in other literature from the time. After Jesus was risen and he was walking around and visiting, he then ascended, as we all know. There, the story gets more complicated. Lazarus, Mary, Martha, Mary Magdalene, and others were put into the Mediterranean on a boat in Israel, and they came ashore here in southern France, Mars de Marise, and in Carmeneuc. I can't say these French names correctly, but you can find it on a map. Marseille is over here, and this is Mars de Marise. We also did a day where we had that almost a fender bender. Thank God it was just scuffed paint. We turned that rent car in, and thank God they didn't declare any new damage to the vehicle. But we went from here over to Roussillon, which is Barbara's favorite spot. My friend Barbara, who is running EPAT, which is happening very soon. Barbara, oh God, I hate it when I do this. Anyway, Barbara Rallo, finally. Barbara Rallo did this, and she goes to Roussillon all the time. And then over to Gourds, and then we drove back to Ile-sur-Sorgue. After our week here, and this little town just absolutely stole our hearts, and it's where I did 2 of the smaller paintings and actually one of the church. We were literally, our apartment walls were right next to the Catholic Church, St. Agnes? Here we go again. Church that was built in 12 AD, 12? Anyway, long time ago. But that little village has completely stolen our hearts. To say that we would love to own an apartment to rent out there is not a stretch. It's actually something that has been tossed around over more than one glass of wine, shall we say. From here, we drove to Arles, which is where I painted the historic Colosseum in Arles while we had lunch. Again, it was a little painting. And we continued down here to Narbonne and Port Nouvelle. Nouvelle? This is where we broke our trip over here to Saint-Emilion in half. I'm going to turn the camera and scoot in here a little bit because now I'm going to be talking about this side. So we drove from Port Nouveau up here through Toulouse and exited the highway right in here before Largonne and drove up to Saint-Emilion. Now we were here for 5 nights and another delightful town, and this is that painting of their stone church that is, the whole town was carved, and therefore they used the stone, quarrying, building other buildings in that little town. And it is just, there are grapevines all along here, Languedoc region, and then all through here. All I can keep laughing about, all the grapevines are like corn is in Nebraska. It's everywhere, or Iowa for that matter. There's grapevines just everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. So we were in Saint-Emilion, and we explored a little bit there. We did not go over to Bordeaux, even though we talked about you just can't do it all. By the time you're in a place, you get set up, you walk around and explore that little town. I did 3 or 4 sketches in Saint-Emilion, and they came out just really nice. This one was finished at home, but I had a good run on it before we left the general vicinity. So from Saint-Emilion, then we came up here to Amboise. And I got lectured on how to pronounce that one, so I may have it close. Amboise. So this is where Leonardo da Vinci, who is near and dear to my heart, with Mona Lisa, Virgin on the Rocks, all the paintings that are very famous associated with da Vinci and the whole Renaissance era of paintings. We visited the castle where the king brought him from Italy, hired him, put him in his own castle, gave him his staff and workers and a place to be. And this is where Leonardo lived out his last days. He's also buried there in Amboise. And that whole area was blocked off due to construction, maintenance. We didn't get to see that at all. So we were 2 nights in Amboise above the Roma restaurant, which was a fabulous restaurant. If you're there, the food's excellent. The rooms, not so much. But they worked. They were okay. You stuck your head out the window like you saw in the pictures from there. And the castle that is in Amboise, right there on the river, in the Loire Valley. And then we drove back to Paris. So we drove about 500 miles getting to and from, and then we drove the rest of the trip down here all the way back to Paris. We probably drove roughly 2,500 kilometers. And we laughed that we walked, according to Dean's phone, we walked 65 miles on this trip that month. So it was a mile here, 3 miles there, 4 miles. I think the longest day was 4+ miles, and that was the day we walked 2.5 in the Louvre all by itself. France was fabulous. I could have broke these up and done more individual stuff, but gee gosh, we're home 3 weeks already, and it just didn't seem right to spend that much more time. But I do want to share this with you. And if you have questions, if you're going to France, I learned a ton about the wines. The wines over here, back in this area, are the Bordeaux blends. No, that's Bordeaux. Burgundy blends and the Châteauneuf-du-Pape area. And those wines are all blended wines. So I didn't know all this. Dean has been studying this and looking it all up for years. The Bordeaux wines are Cabernet Sauvignon based. The wines that are in Saint-Emilion are Merlot based. So they've got 85% Merlot and other blending grapes, whether it's Grenache or it's Cab Franc or there's a variety. But Merlot based, Cabernet Sauvignon based. Languedoc, again, has their own blended system, I believe. Then you came up here into the Loire Valley, and they do make a standalone varietal Cab Franc, and that is one of Dean and I's favorites. But anyway, fun to share. We managed to wrestle a case of wine home, checked it, got it on the plane, flew it back in a proper shipping box. A lot of fun stories, can share some wine. But again, this was a great trip. If you guys are thinking about going and you want to discuss it with somebody and you say, hey, what do you think? Or what do you know? What can we tell you? Happy to share. So goodbye for now from here in San Angelo, Texas. I look forward to seeing you out at the chicken farm during their events. I attended and participated in the October 7th event. I'm going to be doing a book writing workshop there in January, the tail end of January, 27th and 28th. I've done 2 books now, Meander Messia and Meander the Desert Southwest. They are both available on Amazon Books. Search them by title or by name, Deborah Vance, and you will find my 2 books, Meander Messia and Meander the Desert Southwest. Those are the 2 books. They're available in a glossy, nice coffee table paperback, and they are also available inexpensively as ebooks. So check those out. Make great Christmas presents. I'm going to try to do, I'm not going to promise yet because I don't know the weather and I don't have a tent. The November event at the chicken farm would be the first Saturday. And the chicken farm is also doing Black Friday and that Saturday. They're doing a big event. So stay tuned. I will keep you posted. You can check my website and here in the newsletter Substack page that I have and look for updates. More soon. Bye now.